how do we serve? Not who do we serve, but how do we serve? Let me be clear, I'm not talking this morning about the mechanics of service. This isn't going to be a practical sort of step-by-step guide as to how to serve, but rather how it is that we come to the place where we are positioned for service, where we are enabled and empowered to provide service in our own unique ways. In other words, how do we cultivate a spirit of willingness to serve? And before we get to the reading, I want to share with you a story that I came across this past week. It was shared by David Augsburger in his book, 70 times 7, The Freedom of Forgiveness. He tells a story about General William Booth, who's the founder of the Salvation Army, was the founder of the Salvation Army. And later on in his life, he was losing his eyesight. And the difficult task of telling him that he would soon be blind fell to his son. His son's name was Bramwell. General Booth replied to the news by saying to his son, "Do you mean that I will never see you again?" And his son said, "I believe that is what we must contemplate." General Booth responded by saying, "Well, I have done what I could for God and for His people with my eyes. Now I shall do what I can for God and His people without my eyes." We have to have our hearts and our eyes open, in particular to the needs that surround us. See, friends, the peculiar thing about this rich man, and by the way, just as a bit of a side note, what I find most interesting about this passage is that the rich man remains unnamed, completely unknown. And the one who is given the dignity of being given a name is Lazarus, the poor one. But be that as it may, this rich man was so blinded by his own luxury, by his own comfort, that he was either incapable or unwilling to see the need that was literally right at his doorstep, that confronted him every single day as he left his home. He was so sucked in, so seduced by the indulgence that had become part of his life that he was no longer able to have his eyes and his heart opened to those who were literally right at his doorstep. And friends, there are times in our lives where the same is true of us. I've told this or shared this so often here at St. Columbus, but I don't have much time left here, so I'm going to share it again, just in case any of you one day forget it. One of the things that annoys me most when driving is not when people cut me off in traffic, or not now suddenly when we don't have power and everybody's forgotten how to use a four-way stop, or any of those sort of that. Yes, those things annoy me, but it doesn't annoy me most. What annoys me most is that when we get to an intersection here in South Africa, most intersections, whether it's a stop street or traffic light or whatever, we're confronted almost all the time with someone begging, right? That's the lived reality. So we're confronted with need on a daily basis. Literally, we don't even have to get out our cars. We go from home to work and we see it time and time again. Here's what annoys me, is the number of people who grip their steering wheel and stare in front of them like the person doesn't exist.